Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Idea. It paused there. I wasn't sure if we were going, but it says we're live. So
You're waiting for me. I'm not gonna.
I was assuming we're live. This is, of course, No Idea, and I'm Kevin. This is Whitney, and we're going to talk about content creation today.
Yes, and
Content
how
building.
you always need to be doing it. It doesn't really matter what it is. It does. It needs to follow within your branding. But the small things that can make a big difference in engagement and activity on your page. Just it doesn't always have to be a long production. Just short snippets around the office and with your team to, just kind of build those relationships and want to have personality
Yeah.
within your brand, and just it's an excellent way to step outside of your concentrated focus and give yourself some more room to play.
I tell our clients all the time that when we make a post, obviously you have a purpose for everything that you're doing on social media. But when we kind of let the peek behind the curtains or show that little bit of personality outside of the usual everyday post about what we're doing, it really does help with engagement, and it shows people that you're just like them. Your consumers, your supporters, whoever the case may be. It kind of lets them know that you are one of them, so to speak.
Right. And you want people to be familiar with you. Nobody likes to walk into a situation where it feels cold. That will turn people away very quickly. So we always talk about consistency, consistency in posting and consistency in your branding and your colors. But also, what a lot of people don't always put focus on is the consistency in personality and voice, and just getting out there and showing people, there is much more to us than just our services.
Right.
And that's what creates loyalty, is when people get to know you and get to know more than just your services. You have competition. Those competitors have the same services you do. So why should I choose something? Everybody price matches, most people anyway. So I can get the same service, the same price point with anyone that shows up in Google when I search for what I need. So why should I come to you and your business? So you have to give them something, but then also just activity. We know that posts need to follow an algorithm, right? It needs to fall in line. So you have to have your keywords. You have to talk about your services and kind of blend in what you actually do for your content. But there are stories, there are posts, there are videos, there are so many different channels and the platforms within the channel to get out, your personality and tell a story and show who you are and why, you're the difference.
Yeah, and again, we talk about that consistency, but also not being redundant across, especially if you have 3 or 4 or 5 social media channels. You don't necessarily want to post the exact same thing. We've talked about making that content flexible and knowing your audience on Twitter versus what your audience on Facebook or on Instagram is consuming. So you may throw a video up on Facebook and then use an image on Instagram and maybe a link to something on Twitter. Vary it up, experiment with it, see what kind of works for you, but don't just. One of my biggest pet peeves is when I see a business just copy and paste everything from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram, and these are all 3 very different channels in terms of what you can and can't do with them with posts. I preach it all the time about posting links on Instagram, for example. You can't click on a link on Instagram. And so, but I see it all the time where, people will just copy paste it all and think that's going to be that one size fits all, and it's not.
And not only is it an opportunity to show your personality with all of these different platforms, but you need to remember that every platform has its own personality that you do have to kind of match. I mean, Instagram really lets you get outside of the box visually.
Yeah.
So you want to be as creative as you can visually with Instagram. Bright colors, but try and stick within your branding on that, because it is. I always say it's kind of like a table book.
Yeah.
When you open up that profile, it needs to be kind of seamless and have a theme, but it is an awesome way
Yeah.
to show off visually how creative you can be. And people don't take the channel too seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about showing your personality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And, now that there are other, TikTok is still rising in popularity and is still a platform out there that a lot of people, I think, businesses and brands are still, I haven't noticed a big uptick in businesses getting on board with it. It's still a lot of personalized things, but dip your toe in that water too and just kind of see how it works and experiment with it and play around with it. And that is probably the ultimate app or ultimate social media site for you to show some personality, some real personality.
Yeah. And stories,
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook and Instagram. You may have something that doesn't really fit your vibe on Instagram that you don't want to leave up forever, but stories, they go away in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So using that space to really be able to show some things that, it's not going to stay forever, but it does allow people to get to know you a little bit more. Plus, you can put, we used to have just your Instagram posts, just your standard posts, and now you can have live feeds, you can have story placements, you have messages, direct messages. So you went from really, your major 4 to 5 channels with 1 post per day, and that was kind of pushing it. To now you have placements within each platform, and now you have an area where you can do 8 to 10 different pieces of content every day, and you literally cannot give people enough content.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you also don't want to post within your timeline unless you're on Twitter, but on Facebook or Instagram, to the point where you are now just competing with space against yourself.
Yeah.
If you're posting 5 times a day on Facebook, people are not going to see all 5 posts. They're going to see the most recent or the one with the most engagement. And then the rest of your posts are just, your engagement rates are going to tank.
Yeah. I think people still have that mindset of the more I post, the more people will see it. And that's not the case. That's not the way it all works. What is your rule of thumb on posting a story and then posting that same content on your timeline on Facebook or Instagram?
I kind of have mixed feelings on it, and we've run some tests. And there are people that only look at stories. I mean, that's the only feeds they're looking at, stories, and they don't even really look at the posts. They just scroll through those. So I would not put the same. One, they're different formats.
Yeah.
And the dimensions are different. So if
Sure.
you take a post, you're going to have that dead space.
Yeah.
That it just looks lazy when you do that. So I wouldn't take a screenshot and then post it to stories, but you could take that same content and repurpose it for your stories, but then also repurposing for different platforms. So if you've got a post that really did well on Facebook and you want to use it on Twitter, well, you're probably going to have to shorten it. So you're going to take the meat of it and then put it on Twitter, use your relevant hashtags, and then the dimensions for your photo are also different on Twitter. And if you're just scrolling through, it's going to cut off part of your picture. So make sure you're resizing the images. But you go over to LinkedIn, and that's going to be a completely different voice, because that is your professional suit. You want to pretty it up. You want to use formal language. That really kind of drives me crazy when somebody takes, like an Instagram post and put it on LinkedIn, and they don't put any effort into making it sound professional. It's a professional network. Yeah. And you should really take some time to get to know your networks, get to know the personality of those networks, and then, you're going to develop your voice, but you really need to do that based on your personality, because if your brand reflects your personality, then you have all kinds of content creation. You're not getting ideas and then stopping to rethink, how can I mesh this into my brand, because it's all seamless, or it should be.
What do you think about, because I often, just from 10 plus years of doing my own personal branding of the things that I do, how do you describe to people the delicacy, not not delicacy. I've already eaten lunch. So anyway, that fine line of injecting your personal branding into what your business or brand is going to be. You know what I mean? Like, how much of Whitney Roberts goes into idea creative marketing?
Well, like I always say, I am ICM, so everything. It does need to be reflective of not only your personality, but you do have to fine tune it for your
Mhm.
business.
Yeah.
You know, there are just some things you shouldn't carry over.
Yeah.
But it also needs to be reflective of the other opinions and viewpoints and personalities of those that interact with all of your customers. I don't have. There are things that in my personality differ from yours and everybody else in this office. So you don't want to do it to the point where you are projecting, your, political
Mhm.
opinions or
Right.
something like that out there. But you do want to show your personality, show other people's personality, but not to the point where it, infringes on the rights or the creative ability of other people.
Yeah.
Especially when you're looking out into the community and you are to represent a wide range of people. So you do want to tone it down and be, professional, but
Sure.
also just not so much professional as mindful that, we are all different, we are all welcome, and we all have our own opinions, and they should, all be nice to each other
Right.
and be respectful of one another.
Mindful. That's a good word. I like that. That's something I think we all could be a little bit more of these days. So, any other last minute tips here as we
No.
wrap up?
Just, look around. There are bad ideas, but try it,
Sure.
see how it goes, and then you have just always be looking for ways to build your content. So you may see something and take the photo, take the video, and then you can put it in a drive. Like Google Drive is great, and then your team can review it, and then you can kind of get that proof system. But you're always building that content library. You always want to take the opportunity to build that,
Yeah.
and then you can fine tune it later. But don't miss the opportunity to add valuable content to your library.
That's a great idea. Yeah. There may be a day that there are several things going on, and you obviously don't want to post them all on that one day. So, like Whitney said, collecting it and putting it into that Google Drive or wherever, and then saving it. If a lot of times it could be evergreen stuff too. So you're in a good position that way as well.
Just take a walk through the hallway, through your offices. Just take some pictures. You never know when it could be relevant. There is a nothing day
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah.
So you can take that and just always build, and then you can have things that you can pull randomly or within a strategy.
Yeah.
But you always have content.
And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know. You can reach out to us via Messenger right here on Facebook or YouTube. Instagram, we're also on Twitter. And you can call our office too, 529-0969, or stop by and see us someday. We're here in beautiful downtown Murfreesboro.
We love to develop content, and we can think up some pretty fun ideas.
Yeah.
Well, we're biased.
Yeah.
Pretty funny ideas.